All right. Enough of that intro. Hello, world. Hello out there. Hello, Europe. This is Aaron from Solace, coming at you live from Singapore, from the Singapore office. I'm here because I just moved, and my house is a disaster full of boxes, so I thought I'd do the stream from here. Today, I have a special guest joining me for my live stream. Tom, say hello.
Hello, everyone. Morning, good afternoon for those of you in Central European time zone.
I figured since we're doing our first EMEA
Oh, Aaron, we've lost audio for you. Oh, bit of an interruption there. I think Aaron's having some technical difficulties. Let's just give him a second or so, see if he can get back online. If not, no problem. I can continue. Maybe you won't have the same structure as what Aaron had planned, but we can continue anyway. Okay, so while Aaron's trying to reconnect, just kind of my view on what this should be is kind of an open session to really just answer any questions you may have around PubSub Plus. So hang on, I'm just getting some messages from Aaron. So yeah, just answer any questions. No questions are really off the menu. Hopefully, though, these could be questions that are kind of a bit more interactive. So maybe more complicated, in-depth topics that we can, kind of talk to in more depth. So if you've got any questions, please let us know. If not, we might pick some questions off the Solace community. Hopefully you're all aware of the Solace developer community. There, people like Aaron and I monitor the questions, and we try and come up with answers. Sometimes text is not the best way of doing this, which is why we come up with these kind of interactive sessions. So, hey, Aaron, I see you back.
Yeah, sorry about that. My laptop's decided to shut down. This is my old laptop too. My new laptop is in a box, and I have not. My laptop.
Your face went briefly red, and then your screen disappeared, and it was kind of like, oh my God, has he been abducted by aliens or something?
My laptop decided to shut down right at the start of our office hour, so perfect timing. I'm hoping that we can get through this hour without it doing it again. So apologies for that. And Tom, thank you for covering for me while I was away. We should add your desktop just in case, so you can do some screen sharing while I'm in the background there. Anyway. Yeah. Welcome, everybody. We're here to answer all of your questions. We are broadcasting live on LinkedIn, YouTube, and on Periscope. And happy to have you join us. Leave a comment, give a shout out if you're around. We're going to be going through the Solace community at solace.community and answering questions that are out there. And if you have any questions live, please throw them up in the chat, and we will be happy to answer them. Give them our best go. So yeah. Without further ado, I guess let's go into the Solace community here. www.solace.community. Free to sign up. It's our one-stop shop for all things Solace Q&A. Get a lot of people coming and asking us questions on Spring Cloud streams and Boomi connectors and all sorts of new cool integrations that Solace has been releasing and working on. Big news if you're a Python developer out there, the newer version of the API just got released at the end of last month. So 2.1 now supporting guaranteed messaging. So that's pretty exciting. Tom, have you played with it yet, the new Python API?
I haven't in detail. I've had a quick look. It's quite interesting, this whole idea of kind of messaging services, which is a bit of a break from our kind of the old way we built our APIs, which were around kind of producer and consumers and message objects and things like that. Yep. Got a couple of customers signed up and using it, using the early access versions, which is kind of cool. So it's getting some use. Yeah.
I have not, and I'm not really a Python person. I've dabbled in Python, but I really I feel now that we actually have a real Python API, it's time for me to actually get around to learning it. Plus, there's lots of cool data science stuff that you can do with it, right? I like math. I like playing around with numbers and databases and things. So Python's great for that. All right. So while we're waiting for a question here from our audience, of which I'm assuming there are hundreds of people out there tuned in, and listening to, hey, if you have a question, that's why we're here. I got a whiteboard. I got a digital whiteboard. We can go into as much detail as you want. You have 2 of Solace's top-rated field people here to answer your questions. So come on, ask us. Aaron and Tom, happy to be here for an hour. Let's start with an easy one. This is one I just answered actually recently, talking about SEMP v2. If you don't know what SEMP is, it's our management protocol. So not for doing publish subscribe, but for actually doing configuration and monitoring on the broker. SEMP stands for Solace Element Management Protocol. And this is version 2, which came out, I don't know, about 3 or 4 years ago, Tom? Is that about right?
Yeah.
And it's our fully RESTful REST API for doing this stuff. So you can create queues, you can create users, change passwords, do all sorts of configuration on the broker. Rather than using the GUI tool, the PubSub Plus Manager, you can do it using programmatically. So
fun fact, PubSub Plus Manager uses SEMP v2 under the covers, right? So anything you can do in Manager, you can do using SEMP. And actually, if you want to get a quick start on SEMP v2, you could potentially turn Manager on and then turn your developer console on in your browser and see all the REST interactions that are going on behind the scenes with Manager. So
I was just going to bring up my local broker, but it seems to be down. So I might have to log into Solace. Yeah, it is down. Huh. That's weird. I'll have to log into Solace
Cloud.
Yeah. So not Solace.cloud. I'll log into Solace Cloud here. But yeah, that's true. That's a great point. Anything that you can do in the PubSub Plus Manager, you can do using SEMP. So if you're used to kind of going through there and clicking and creating queues manually, adding subscriptions to those queues, you don't have to do that. You can do that programmatically. So that's pretty easy to do there. So yeah,
so just on the subject of monitoring and management APIs, we've got one for Event Portal too. So in a very similar way, anything you can do in the the Event Portal GUI, I think you can do using the Event Portal API, although I haven't checked that one, so I probably shouldn't have been rash enough to start saying that.
That's right. But I believe one of our colleagues, Magali, has done an Event Portal REST API blog and maybe video. I'm not.
I'm just working. Sure. Actually, funny enough, I'm working with Magali at the moment to extend that whole video idea to show how you can integrate Event Portal with the broker. So
that's right.
What's its space?
I was thinking actually, since we are doing a European broadcast here, we should say bonjour, salut, je m'appelle Aaron, et ici c'est Tom. We could do Spanish. I could say hola, ¿cómo estás? Me llamo Aaron. We are a multi-link. Solace is a Canadian company, right? So, a lot of people speak French at Solace. It's not quite the same French as from France, but yeah, here's our PubSub Plus Manager. I just logged into the cloud, my cloud connection, and yeah, so anything that you can do here, you can do programmatically. It makes it so much easier, if you're doing automated testing and or needed to do create a whole bunch of queues and things.
And of course, that's your CI/CD hook, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yep. I mean, REST, everything speaks REST. Everything understands REST. Integrating it with pretty much any kind of tool chain, you can basically have your entire broker automatically created, configured, stand up, and tear it down afterwards, all fully automated. So, yeah, this particular user, Manikata, welcome. We was looking to find out if there's a way to do an OR. So in SEMP, if you just Google SEMP v2, Google should point you to our API documentation for the Swagger UI. It's all fully documented there. And you can actually do some cool filtering. You can specify a where clause, and you can kind of chain together, if you want to look for message VPNs that have a certain letter or queues that match a particular thing, you can do some searching and filtering on that. And in addition, you can search and filter on attribute names. So very, very cool. You can string them together with a comma, but as this particular user was saying, it is a and, rather he wants an or. He or she, I think it's a he, but right? Not something we can do quite yet, but it's a good idea. We're gonna go raise it with our product line manager and see if it's maybe an enhancement that we can add. However, there are ways to do this. If you're doing this from the shell, it wouldn't be that hard to essentially do, let's go just take a look here. Looking for VPNs where the connection count threshold is cleared is not 40. The rate threshold clear value is 300, and it's enabled. So looking for a specific type of, some parameters in your VPN there. And yeah, it could be easily done with multiple commands, run 3 separate queries. That's what I suggested. Pretty basic suggestion, I guess. Just run 3 different queries and then dedupe on the VPN name. And there you go. That's one way to do it. So yeah.
Quite an interesting use case, that, actually, searching through for queues of a particular kind of characteristic. Yeah.
Well, this is VPNs, right? This is looking for VPNs.
Oh, hang on, sorry. Yeah, it's VPNs. Okay, so connection. So right, so trying to filter out VPNs given certain connection count characteristics. So it just shows you kind of what kind of things you can build up, right?
Yeah. So I think the compared to SEMP v1, which was very kind of cumbersome. SEMP v2 has a lot of built-in filtering into the kind of URL. You can specify, you can use wildcards. You can specify some of these filterings in the where, but it's not fully fledged. It can't do everything, and so that's kind of what we arrived at towards the bottom. Manikanta here said, probably the best thing we're doing is just get everything and then parse it and compare it with a custom script. And I thought, yep, it's easier to just, rather than use the broker's SEMP v2 filtering, obviously locally, you'll be able to do way more custom and way more advanced filtering on your client, for example. So might as well just grab all of the data. That's why I said, fetch it all locally and then run your queries there. And you can run multiple queries without having to go back to SEMP, right? So it just seems like an easy win there.
Yeah, I think that's a probably general comment, right? If you can do it easily in a single SEMP query, then do it easily, but otherwise probably end up parsing it, right? I mean, there's we've got Swagger and all that kind of documentation to help you build up your code automatically, and then just have you run your searches, right? So
that's right. Yeah. So if you're into configuring the broker with REST, check that out. All right, we got a few comments here. What about Dutch? I don't know any Dutch. Tom, do you know any Dutch? Can we throw something out there?
I used to know. There's a phrase in Amsterdam about going under the 7 bridges, which is a bit of a tongue twister, but I can't remember it anymore. So apologies. Right. And I would try and pronounce your name. I'm guessing Jack. Yeah. But I probably make adding insult to injury there. So.
I actually have a few Dutch friends here in Singapore, but that doesn't really qualify as speaking any Dutch. So apologies for that. But yes, hello, welcome. Happy to have you join us. We have another question here actually on our chat. What about IBM Solutions integrations? Ooh. Right. So, Tom, you're the guest speaker. You go first, and I'll
where to start there? So, of course, IBM is a massive range of products, right? So we've got numerous integration points. So if you're used to, I don't know, say IBM Integration Broker, typically you might have used that with IBM MQ. Well, turns out actually you can hook that into Solace quite easily. IBM Integration Broker as, for instance, a JMS connector. You can write your own code and put your own palette together if you want to use the Solace native APIs for whatever reason. What about data power? Well, we can integrate directly with data power. How we do that is one of the really funky things about Solace is all these different protocols that we support. We actually support REST messaging as a protocol, right? You can kind of post into Solace and that be taken as an event. And we've got customers that are integrating directly with data power using that REST interface, both in and out. And then you can just hook in. You can hook in if you want to connect into JMS, for instance. You can hook in using JMS. You can use our web messaging to update the dashboard, all these kinds of things. So kind of in general, we've got a protocol there to support you. Once you go to mainframe, it's a bit more complicated. We do have some integrations options there for you, but we'd rather talk to you one-to-one than make sweeping generalizations that probably aren't particularly worthwhile on the call like this, right? But generally, as a rule, if you need us to integrate with IBM, yeah, we can help you. We've got plenty of options there, and it's all around this funky multi-protocol, multi-native protocol that we've got. So you don't have to worry about bridging or translation or anything like that.
That's right. Like I mean, it's as simple. It can be as simple as kind of WebSphere, JMS style. You know, we have JMS. We support XA. You know, quite a few customers have used us to like kind of swap in and replace applications running over WebSphere. But yeah, if you need to talk to mainframe, yeah, we have the data power route. You know, the whole ASCII to EBCDIC conversion can happen there. And we have customers that, you know, their core payments or their core banking platform still runs on mainframe, still runs in IBM. But using that data power, that REST interface, they can post those messages out onto Solace, and all of their downstream stuff now, you know, kind of, you know, customer appreciation and all sorts of metrics and analytics are now flowing over Solace and the downstream kind of bus, using publish, subscribe, and all that stuff to really drive rates and to modernize applications that hang off that core kind of banking or core payments architecture. So being able to do a hybrid is really great. All right, thank you. Well, thank you. Yeah, check out our website, solace.com/IBM. There is some information up there. It might be a little bit marketing-ish, I don't know, but feel free to reach out on Solace Community, and one of us can we can dive deeper on this. So solace.community to continue the conversation. Thanks.
Yeah, alternatively, Tarek, if you want to speak to me directly, we can kind of dig into what you'd like to do and see how we can help.
All right, I got another question here from LinkedIn. Rajans, can we set JMS selector property using the REST APIs like something in the header without using Solace's JMS API?
Hey, Rajans, how you doing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Rajans just passed his Solace accreditation, so well done.
Nice.
Yes. Right. So, can you use selectors in the REST API?
That's a good question. I don't. You know, I don't think so.
No, I don't think you could use it directly from REST. I don't know of any way that you could apply it from REST. But certainly, what you could do is when you're structuring your when you're structuring your RDP. So for those of us who aren't used to Solace's REST interface, essentially how you enable REST messages out is you have to tell us a few things about what you want to do to convert what looks like an event into some kind of REST post or put. How we do that is use this structure called an RDP, REST delivery point. And what you could do, for instance, is can you apply selectors on the queue binding, Aaron? Would you be able to do that?
No, because it'd be on the flow. I don't think that you can. It's a really interesting question. So yeah, in Solace, the selectors are processed on the outgoing flow. And so in the RESTful world, that would mean that the queue, the REST consumer, would have to specify the selector. And I don't think that functionality exists. However, it depends. I mean, what do you need to select on, right? So we tend to gravitate towards using our topic hierarchy and topic filtering to perform selector-like capabilities, right? If your selector is something simple like name equals Aaron, and that's what you want to filter on, we would then suggest, well, just use our hierarchical topic structure and have one of the levels as your name that you're interested in. And if you just want everybody's name, then you put a star there, and then you kind of get everybody's name. Or if you want Aaron's, then you put Aaron in that level. Yeah, I don't think that we support that. It would be interesting if it's on the roadmap, but I'm going to write that down, actually.
Yeah, I mean, just from personal experience, we can do most things that a selector can do.
Yes.
Where selectors become really kind of useful is things like ranges. It's difficult to do that in a topic hierarchy. Ranges is normally the killer app for a selector.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, because it's you know, selectors are SQL 92 like syntax. So you can do greater than and less than, things like that. That said, you can do range queries with topics. That's what my bus demo does essentially. If you know the range, you can kind of use topics to do kind of a range type thing. It's a little bit complicated, but so Yeah,
That's a good one.
question.
Actually, good question.
Yeah,
I'll look into that.
stumped me there. Yeah. Come and post on Solace Community. Maybe we'll have a better answer for you after we talk to some people from R&D. All right. Oh, by the way, yes, it is Jack. Jack is fine. Excellent, Jack. Thanks. Thanks for confirming that. Very good. Hi, Aaron and Tom. Hi, VJ. How's it going out there? Welcome to our live stream of Aaron and Tom talk about Solace for an hour. Okay. Any other questions out there? Please throw them up on the chat. Leave a comment, LinkedIn, YouTube. We're happy to talk. We're happy to answer anything around topic design or integration or APIs or threading or networking. I don't know. TCP, how to achieve the lowest latency. I don't know, stuff like that.
Yeah, performance. If you're interested in performance, what kind of performance numbers do you expect in, say, AWS or something like that? Happy to answer those kind of questions.
Multi-cloud, REST versus Solace, streaming platforms. How about the event portal? That's something we haven't. I don't know if I've ever actually demoed it on one of my live streams. So, you know, if people are used to Solace the broker, right? Solace the broker. We have APIs and we have a broker. And now we have this whole portal to help you build event-driven applications, and that's pretty. If you don't have a Solace Cloud account, make sure you get a Solace Cloud account. They're free to sign up. You can get yourself a broker, but you can also play around with the event portal. Free to give it a try. And this is where you can come and build yourself some apps graphically. They got a bunch of random apps here.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's a bit messy. This is kind of our backstage, so you're not really supposed to be taking. This was from our. This is one of our traffic or taxi demos here, and it basically allows you. Yes, I haven't put. Yeah, this is a mess because I haven't moved things around in a while. But yeah, this basically allows you to visualize and show event-driven applications, events that they are publishing and events that they're receiving, and be able to generate code off the back of these things. So here's a ride updated event. Again, apologies for the layout because I actually I haven't put it back in a while. But every time there are ride updated different they're published by either the driver device or the ride simulator. You can see who subscribed to that device. You can take a look at the schema, the topic or the payload structure. Here it is in kind of a nice, I guess, English reading type format, or you can look at the raw. This is JSON schema here. This is the payload. Yeah, and you can come along and now build. Actually, you can actually deploy code. We have demos, videos, and code labs that show you how to basically take these applications and build yourself a framework using Spring Cloud Stream, using Python, and a bunch of other, I think Node as well. Yeah,
I love that. I love that async API integration, right? Fully open standard integration that enables you to generate like a code framework, and then it literally just kind of your message is just there in the code, and you can just start writing business logic.
Yeah,
really cool idea, actually.
Super easy. Yeah, I'm gonna pause for a second there. I'll come back to the event portal. Check it out. We got a few more questions here, so give me a wow. There's lots of things scrolling by here. Okay,
Excellent.
let's go back. Let's go back to Jack's question. All right, so Jack, Solace supports MQTT, but what about other protocols in the IoT space? What kind of gateway solutions are out there which work great with Solace? Tom, you go. I'm going to do some looking.
Okay, what other protocols in the IoT space? So it depends what you mean by IoT. Are you talking about industrial control or more sensor readings, that kind of thing? For the sensor space, I would say MQTT is the place to go. Obviously, for kind of more industrial kind of control, like Industry 4.0 kind of applications, you're probably talking to PLCs. And there we've got a partnership with a company called, I think it's Autonomy. Aaron, can you remember?
I don't. Yeah, I think we're talking like things like SCADA and Zigbee and other kind of edge code. Yeah.
Exactly. So we've got this partnership with this company. Just give me a second. I'll try and find out its exact name. And they have a gateway precisely that will talk, that will convert from, say, MQTT to things like Zigbee all of those low power kind of solutions. So that acts as your edge gateway, Jack, as precisely as you described there. Kind of the idea behind us supporting MQTT is that because it's an open protocol again, right? The idea is that as long as your gateway can talk MQTT, you can bring it into your Solace event mesh. That's kind of the key idea there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, so I personally haven't worked on any, but I've heard the pitches and stuff from other parts of the company. Yeah, MQTT to the edge, and then there's going to be that last mile or last building or last elevator is going to be some kind of proprietary protocol. So yeah, we'll talk to some kind of edge gateway device and make it happen that way. REST. REST is also another integration point. Some people don't want to do MQTT, so you can kind of pick and choose.
Yeah, I mean the only problem with REST is that it tends to be a bit heavyweight, especially if you're talking to a lightweight gateway. So as an example, for instance, we've got a particular customer use case where they're using Dell IoT gateways, the hardware solution themselves, talking MQTT back into kind of the local, what would you call it? Not a point of presence, but kind of the local office, if you like, say in country, has a broker running there. And then those brokers using the event mesh talk back into kind of the cloud, kind of central IT portion, if you like, back into the main part of the enterprise. Point being with these IoT gateways is they're quite resource constrained, right? So being able to talk MQTT to them is a real advantage.
Yeah, we actually at Solace we have a couple of people that are focused specifically on IoT, and one of our colleagues, Sven, knows quite a bit about this stuff that Tom and I might not be quite as familiar with. And he hangs out on the Solace community. So head over to Solace community, Jack, and post up there. I'm sure you could get quite a bit more detailed details on how we play with edge gateways, other IoT protocols, and use cases like that. So, and
he's UK based, so he's in region, which is even better. So
there you go. Yeah, we should only be suggesting people that are EMEA so that time zones are aligned. Because it's 7:30 p.m. here. It's getting a bit late at the end of the day. Okay, great question.
Jack, just to follow up on that, if you have got any specific protocols or use cases that you want to talk about, we'd love to hear them.
Yeah. All right, next question. I'm just going to throw them up without reading them, so that's a bit risky. VJ, if we're using Solace PubSub Plus standard version for our enterprise, that's great. Should we rename the default message VPN as we only have one message VPN? Looking for your recommendation. Okay, so you technically can't rename the default VPN. The default VPN is just always there. It is your getting started, your lab environment VPN that you should be using. But for any type of real use case, even dev test, you should create your message VPN. This is kind of a standard Solace best practice, I guess, for deployment. Create yourself a user-created message VPN, give it a name. Oftentimes, customers will put the location and maybe the environment into the VPN name. It could be like the application is called Eagle London Dev or something like that, right? Yeah, you shouldn't be using the default VPN. That's my suggestion there. So you can't rename it, but you can definitely create another one. You're allowed to have another message VPN, a user-created VPN on the standard edition broker, and that will be fine.
Yep, totally agree. Yep, and in fact, I'd recommend that anyway, because let's say, for instance, you decided that you wanted Solace to take over management of the broker. So you were to take out Solace Cloud plan, which, as Aaron has pointed out earlier, you can do for free, so try it out. There you will be picking a VPN name, and I'm guessing, although I'm not entirely sure, the default isn't going to work too well in that environment. So you should probably get used to having a named message VPN anyway.
That's right. Named VPN is the way to go. The standard broker, it's not just one VPN, it's one user created VPN. So you can leave the default. I would disable it, shut it down, definitely shut it down in production. And a few other things around that. When you're doing backups and restores, sometimes if you try to restore the default VPN to a new broker that already has a default VPN, you're going to run into some kind of it's going to complain about things not matching. But if you are creating a user VPN, and then copying that configuration and restoring it somewhere else. Because it's a brand new VPN, you can't delete the default VPN as well. It makes backing up configuration, restoring quite a bit easier as well. So yeah, the default VPN should really only be used for kind of playing around, sandbox, lab testing as a suggestion. Okay, great. Good question. Thanks. All right. Next, Alex. A question about OAuth authorization configuration, comma. Oh, do I have to scroll down now? Hold on, let's see here. Oh, yes. Oh, OAuth. I don't know much about OAuth, so we'll see.
Oh, okay. So it's supported for
Tom, you read this. I'm going to take a sip of water.
Okay, so OAuth authorization is only supported for MQTT clients. Yeah. Is support for other protocols on the roadmap? Absolutely. So yeah, there's a number of aspects to this. So obviously, OAuth for MQTT is around clients. There's also the aspect of administrative users too. So like SEMP2, as Aaron was talking about earlier. So essentially, the blanket statement is yes, OAuth is on the roadmap for everything. Which is a nice, easy thing to say. So we have some priorities. So actually, OAuth for administrative users, I think, is next.
Yep.
And then
if you're in Azure, yeah, we just rolled out some new feature that OAuth is working in Azure, didn't we?
Yes, that's right. That's for RDPs.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's coming in pieces. I don't know if you have, Alex, if you have a priority or a specific use case, that's what we want to hear from the field, right? That's what we want to hear from users out there. So I need this particular, I need the C API, or I need the JMS, I don't know, whatever you're using. If it's that's what we need to hear from the field. But yeah, eventually everything's going to be working with.
So yeah, our kind of thoughts on kind of how we're going to progress this is admin users next. Right. And then probably, and that's locked into the roadmap. Well, I say locked in, but the plan is to deliver that definitely this year. And then we're looking at the kind of web-facing APIs. So while this is all going on, we're improving the REST delivery points for the cloud integrations, for instance. So like Aaron mentioned, like for Azure, that's supporting OAuth there. Then we're going to, at the moment, we're thinking of the web-facing APIs, so things like Node and JavaScript, that kind of web messaging space next. But we, as Aaron says, we want to hear from you guys, right? What are you doing? What do you need that uses OAuth?
From what I've heard from R&D, obviously getting our JavaScript and Node APIs working with OAuth would be an obvious next choice, but it's more protocol based. So, using the Solace native protocol, which would mean kind of, JavaScript and our C and our Java and our C# would all come along for the ride as well. So it's not like we can really prioritize JavaScript over these others because it's more, protocol rather than API. So, but yeah, it is all happening. I don't know exactly when, but we're working on it for sure. So yeah, stay tuned for that.
So Alex, if you do have a specific need, let us know and we can ask about when it'll be.
Yeah. All right. Good question. Thank you. Thank you. Next, question from Krishna. Hello. Can you please help us to learn the SEMP v2 to create endpoints and add multiple topics on the queue? Yes, definitely. I will show you 2 ways of doing that to learn that. I'm going to be a little self-promoting, actually. If you head over to codelabs.solace.dev, I don't know if you can read my URL. Can you see the URL up there? Yeah, codelabs.solace.dev. This is Codelabs is a I think Google came up with it, but it's a tutorial, self-guided tutorial format, and we have a bunch of self-guided tutorials here, including how to actually create a code lab. We have a code lab for creating code labs. Very meta.
Yeah, I was just about to say exactly that.
But if you want to learn how to integrate with Boomi, use our Kafka connectors. This is Tom's that he created, the native API basics. Check that out if you're new to Solace. But in mine, this is one I did last year, the REST, how to event enable your REST architecture. I actually include SEMP and CLI configuration commands, as well as screenshots from our PubSub Plus manager. So check this out. Create a queue. I'll just to show you, but Krishna, I'm going to show you where to find the actual SEMP v2 documentation, the proper documentation. So stay tuned. I just thought I would throw this in there. Let me scroll down to the bottom here. This is what you're going to be essentially doing. So I'm using curl, but obviously you could use Postman. You could use anything that is able to generate REST commands. To create a new object, you're going to be using the post verb. So you'll see that's what I'm doing here. I'm going to, and the command that you're doing is all built into the URL. So I'm saying SEMP v2 using the config API, and in the default VPN, so message VPN / VPN name, using the default VPN here for this. Queues, I'm doing a post, which is going to create me a new queue with these parameters. So I create a queue called queue rest get, set the access type, the spool, the size of the queue there in megabytes, and enable it to turn it on. So enable true and false. That will create the queue. One command, one post, and that's it. So no having to go into the broker and do, or in the manager and do all of these, all these steps. You can do it in a single command. And then once it's created, you run this second one here. So curl, blah, 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 blah. You'll see queues. Now that the queue is created, you can just add it to the URL, queue rest get / subscriptions, and again, do a post. Post means create, and I'm adding a subscription called get / greater than. I wonder if, I'm gonna throw this in the chat. I wonder if I can actually make this a comment. So Christian is asking on YouTube. I might actually be able to respond back. Let's see. I'm going to, this might break. There's a lot of weird characters in here, so this might break something here.
So just while Aaron's doing that, Krishna, obviously you can iterate on that command to to create multiple subscriptions, right? And the cool thing about adding subscriptions to queues like this is that it's fully dynamic, right? So you don't have to shut down the queue to do it. Just add the subscription, and as soon as that subscription is applied, that queue starts getting data from that subscription. So it's pretty cool.
So I don't know if that worked, if that came through on the comments on YouTube, but definitely you can come and find it on the Solace community. Otherwise, if you just type in, oh, sorry, Tom.
Yeah, I was just about to say, you could just post the link to the code lab. That might.
Oh, that's even a smarter idea. Yes.
See, we're all about, it's Solace. You can do multiple. You can do the same thing multiple ways.
That's right. I didn't. There you go. I'll just post the link, so you can copy that code out of there if you would like. Otherwise, if you just Google SEMP v2, you will come up. Oh, actually, I did it earlier, didn't I? It's this first link here for the Swagger UI. At the top here, there are 3 different APIs for SEMP v2. There is the config, there is the monitor, and the one I'm looking at right now is action. I don't want that. I want the config one, right? So I'm just going to replace this with config.
All right. So it's worth, actually, I was going to mention that earlier, Aaron. It's worth talking about the difference between the 3 years. Okay. So for those of us that are used to CLI, monitor would be basically show commands. Config commands would be configure level of hierarchy, and action kind of maps to the admin kind of level of hierarchy. So what we mean by that is, if you do something in configure, it's going to stick to the broker. You shut the broker down and restart it, it's going to come back with whatever you've done in config. Monitor is just give me some information, like how many subscribers have I got, and then action will be non-persistent things that you're doing on a broker. So deleting a message, right? Once you've deleted that message, that action doesn't happen again. You don't delete a message with that same ID again.
Yeah, or disconnecting a client. If you're doing kind of client disconnect tests, you can do that.
Yeah, all those kinds of things, right?
But typically config. I think out of all the uses of SEMP v2, most of the time you're doing config commands, right? Creating queues, deleting queues, creating users, modifying user names, stuff like that, right? I think is usual. So yeah, so at the top here, make sure that you're looking at config. That's part of your URL. So if you Google SEMP v2 space config, it should go in there. Here's the definition of all the different verbs. As I showed you just a little bit ago, post means you're going to be creating an object. If you've already created the queue and you want to modify it, like change its access type or its permissions or its size, you'll be using patch. And that way you can update a single attribute and all the other attributes remain unchanged. So you're only kind of modifying whatever you specify in the payload. Scrolling down a little bit further, you can see all of the different objects that you're allowed to create or delete or modify. And we're talking about queues. So click on queue, standard kind of open API documentation here. Get will list you the queues, post will create you a queue. That's what we looked at just on the code lab. And then scrolling a little bit further down, you're going to see all of the different variables or attributes that you can set and a little bit of a description on each one. So don't have time, obviously, to go through all of this, but hopefully that gets you pointed in the right direction using SempV2, some commands there in that code lab, and just Google SempV2 config, and you should find this massive page with all of these things here. So great question. Otherwise, yeah, Solace community, solace.community to follow up and ask more questions. We can help you out there. Whatever you want. Yeah. Thanks for the question there. Okay. Wow, we've got a lot of questions here.
Good.
Jack has another one. Can Solace software instance be managed from Solace Cloud, queues, and etc.? What about the event portal? That's a good question. So we're talking like a Solace broker, software broker running on a server somewhere on-prem. Can it be managed through the cloud interface? Tom, do you know?
Okay, so let's talk about the event portal first. So event portal is software as a service, right? So that all goes through Solace Cloud. We are working towards this kind of single pane of glass view so that you could just go into your cloud console and just click all, kind of register all your brokers there and click through there. If your broker is actually a managed broker, so something you might not be aware of is we can manage your software brokers for you, even if they're in your own cloud. So, in AWS terms, we can manage brokers running in your VPC. We can even manage them running on premise. So running in your own data center. So if you're doing that, we can go through Solace Cloud and we can go through the cloud interface here as Aaron is doing, and we can click through and we can connect directly to the management interface. If you're deploying the broker yourself, at the moment, no, you have to connect to the broker itself rather than go through the cloud console. So to summarize, not at the moment, but we're working towards it if you've deployed the broker yourself.
Yeah, so not any software instance. You have to connect to it locally, but yeah, if you're running Kubernetes on-prem, we have capabilities in Solace Cloud to reach out and manage brokers through the Solace Cloud. So hopefully that answered your question there, Jack. Good question, thank you. Oh, another one right after. Okay, the portal, can it validate the payloads with Solace? The portal itself, the portal is a design time tool. It's not a runtime tool. We are building runtime capabilities into the broker and into kind of the surrounding ecosystem around the broker to do payload validation. More from an audit perspective, in terms of like watching applications, making sure that people are publishing the right payload, the right format. I don't know if it'll ever be in the hot path. It'll be more of a kind of a side, kind of a sidecar listening type of kind of capability. That's my understanding. Tom, is that what you think?
Yeah, that sounds fair enough. Yeah, so I presume, Jack, you're looking at for kind of a schema validator kind of functionality. It's not in the broker, and as Aaron says, we're working towards it, but it's likely to be, running off the side rather than the broker hot path.
That's right. Yeah, just for performance and a number of other things. Yeah, so it'll flag up bad behavior, but it won't actually probably stop it from going across the mesh.
Well, maybe what you could do is have a kind of pre-validated topic and a post-validated topic. That's potentially one way of doing it. So your subscribers would listen to the post-validated topic, and then that way they could be assured that they'd always get something that conforms to the schema.
Yep. Cool. All right. Moving on. I see the scroll bar is quite long, so let's see if we can answer all the questions before we have to break. Krishna, another one from you. Is there a way to take the backup of all the messages in a queue? If not, any third-party tools used to download? Now, a fairly new, it's been a couple of years now, a feature that Solace has is replay. Now, the Solace broker automatically can take a copy of every message, every guaranteed message that's published into your message VPN. So that if you ever needed to kind of get back and take a restore of that, the broker already has it. This is enabled on a message by VPN basis. If you're in the PubSub Plus manager, head over to replay. Because I'm using Solace Cloud and I'm using my developer account, I can't turn it on. So I can't demo it. But yeah, literally all you do is say, turn it on. It's, a gigabyte long or, 100 gigabytes, whatever the size, how much disk you have. And then every time, if you need to be able to go back in time and replay from a certain point, you can do that. So the broker has some built-in capabilities. That said, if you're not using Solace Replay, I actually don't know. I don't think there's a way to take a backup of a specific queue. There must be third-party tools. I've written little sample apps that drain a queue and save it to a disk, but
yeah, I mean, you could get the data, right? You could even, so Solace has a testing called SDK Perf, and if you get desperate, you could use that and dump it to a file. You would have to work. Yeah, you would have to read that back in somehow. JMS Toolbox, does that have an option to dump to a file?
I don't know. Yeah, JMS Toolbox might. I'm not that familiar with it. I would think if there has to be some JMS tool out there that can read a queue and save that data and put it back later. But nothing that I know off the top of my head. So sorry, Krishna.
Yeah,
come ask on Solace community, and maybe somebody will know, and they'll be able to tell you.
Yeah, it could be that replay does what you want. I would just with replay, I would say that it's not intended to be long-term storage. So there are a couple of use cases for it. So it's there's multiple, but the first one is I forgot to subscribe my queue to the right topic, and I've missed a load of messages that I need. Can I get them back? That's probably more of a kind of developer sandbox kind of use case. There's the, my app has crashed, so my database has crashed or something, and I need to go back to a fixed snapshot time and replay from there to kind of recreate my state. And that leans us towards that kind of event sourcing kind of use case, where you're going to keep a track of everything that's happened to an application and replay that to rebuild the application state. Might be worth quickly talking about how we manage the size of the replay log. We have a trimming facility, right? So you set the replay log to a certain size, and once that size is exceeded, the broker will automatically go and start pruning off the old messages from that point on. You can also trigger that manually too.
Yep. Good question. Thank you.
Yeah.
I actually just noticed that Jack posted on Solace community, actually on the community. So really quick, I'll just answer this because I think I know. Is SempV2 the way to migrate a Solace Cloud instance to a new one? No, our Solace Cloud team will do that for you. So there's no way to do it programmatically as of yet. There's no way to kind of, it's a bit of a,
well, you could write some of your own code, but it's not guaranteed to be complete, I think.
Yeah. No, it's best to get us to help with that, and we're happy to do that to move to a larger instance, for example. Yeah. Cool. All right. Carrying on.
Yeah, I'd be interested, Jack, to follow up on that one. I'm not sure that what you've been told there is entirely correct. Yeah, we have tools, and our cloud team have tools that enable to take a configuration and upgrade it. And move it. It is possible that there are some problems moving between different cloud plan sizes, because what will happen is we'll grab the whole configuration and it'll say things like, don't let more than 250 connections occur.
There might be
So
some
that-
manual tweaking of limits and things. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm really hoping the cloud team actually have some cool scripts that can kind of do that upgrading, upsizing type of thing. It wouldn't be that hard, Tom. Like, I mean, we've both done CLI backups and configurations, and I've written tools that kind of go there and tweak certain things to make sure, like upgrading from a 3230 to a 3260, you know, all the default sizes change. So there are ways to do this. But yeah, you shouldn't have to, Jack, you shouldn't have to worry about this yourself. It should be the cloud team that can help.
Yeah, actually following up on that, and Jack, what I'd recommend actually is you file a support ticket for that. Because, you know, obviously if you're on cloud, you're on a supported plan. And so it would be good to get an official answer from our support team on that. I think it's the best way to go. So if, I'm assuming you know how to file a support ticket. So just send an email to support@solace.com and put your question in there. And that way you'll get the official answer from the support team.
Yep. All right. Excellent. Next. Hey, thank you, Aaron and Tom. Big fan. All right. I love watching Aaron's videos on YouTube. Ah, thank you.
He's a good man, he's
those videos take a long time to make, you know, for such a short video. It's a labor of love. Thank you very much. I always recommend your videos and then Tom's blogs to beginners. Yes, Tom writes some excellent blogs. Which Solace's one feature do you like the most?
Ooh, that's a good question. I'm going to let you go first, Aaron, because mine's a bit obscure.
I don't
right, okay, I'll go first then. I'll go first. So one of the things I love about Solace is, you know, when you're writing code, you're looking for symmetry, right? Things generally work in the same way. There's a lot of that in Solace. So a good example of that, for instance, is the way that if you send something directly to a queue, so if you publish directly to a queue, actually under the hood, you're actually sending it to a system topic. So
that's your favorite feature?
Everything is
wow, okay.
Oh man, just what I love about it is it's just so neat and elegant. It's all done the same way. It looks different, it behaves in different ways, but actually under the hood. And it, as I say, is really obscure. It doesn't help you in your particular use cases. But when I was just looking into that one, I just looked at it and thought, yeah, that's the way you do things, right? Everything is topic routing.
We have a new joiner here in Singapore, and shout out to Skinny if he's listening. But we were talking about that just today. We were talking about the network topic that a queue has, and that, yeah, it's an addressing scheme, right? It's so under the covers, that's how you actually, Solace under the covers is actually addressing the queue, is using a topic, which is kind of neat. You're right. For me, it's the multi-protocol stuff. I've written a lot of demos, having a JavaScript front end and a Java backend, and being able to talk just through the broker without any gateways or any web servers is really cool. I can basically do publish, subscribe, WebSocket to my browser. I've done mashups with Google Maps, like I got a bus demo. I've got some other stuff. You know, being able to talk REST out the back end, you know, having, you know, publishing with a JMS publisher and then having it talk to REST on the back end. I can talk to like my InfluxDB or whatever. That I think is my favorite feature. And it's once you start playing with the multi-protocol stuff and realizing the kind of cool integrations you can do, it's pretty slick. So yeah,
as an architect, that is the one thing that makes my life so much easier. Like, you want to talk to a mule interface? Oh, well, it depends. You could talk directly via JMS, or you can actually call the API directly.
Yeah,
all you got to do is change the configuration options.
Thanks for the shout out there, Rajans. I'll keep making some videos. Another one from Jack. Where can we find the Solace roadmap? So if you are a Solace customer, we have our product line team, product line management can do an in-depth presentation on all the stuff that's coming up down the pipe. But publicly, I don't know where we post about this stuff. Tom, do you have we kind of keep it, we have some.
I think, yeah, it's, we don't do that publicly. So Jack, you've got cloud plans. That means that your friendly local Solace account team should be able to give you that information. And generally we like to talk to customers one-to-one because we want to understand what's of interest. So we'll say, well, we're thinking about doing this feature. The customer will say, meh, okay, move on. We're thinking about this feature. Oh yeah, I want to do this and this and this. And that really helps us adjust the roadmap, right? So Jack, in your case, talk to your local account team, right?
Yep.
We'll be more than happy.
So one last one from Jack, and I think that's it. So that's kind of good timing. Currently not possible to create additional VPNs on the cloud versus the Solace broker or the Solace instance, software instance. Why? That was a decision made by the cloud team and by R&D to keep a kind of a one-to-one alignment. It makes deployment just a little bit easier. You know, if you only have one message VPN, one application team, or a bunch of apps running per broker, when you start to do...
Yeah, it helps align. When you're buying a plan, you buy a plan size, right? And it helps align that with what you're doing on the broker. One of the things the broker allows you to do is this idea of over provisioning. So if you can imagine, if you've got, say, a connection count of 1,000 and you've got 2 message VPNs, you can say each message VPN can have 1,000 connections. But then the system limit kicks in. And to avoid all of that confusion, the possibility to, you know, for one VPN to have 999 connections, and then you come in and try and connect to the other VPN, and you know, when you go for connection 2, you'll get an alert saying, no, you've run out of connections. To save all of that, we took the decision to kind of simplify things as far as the plan goes as much as possible. It also helps keep the infrastructure costs kind of constrained as well, I think.
Yep. And one benefit is that you don't suffer ever from any noisy neighbor type situation, where if you have, you know, multiple VPNs and one is, you know, using up a significant amount of resources on the broker, not configuration based ones, because we can have limits for all that kind of stuff, but it is possible, like bandwidth, if you're on a limited bandwidth plan and you have one VPN that's really using up a lot of bandwidth, it might be difficult to dynamically throttle that. So it's simpler for deployment, simpler for management and costs and all that stuff, to just kind of have that one-to-one alignment. But you know, maybe you don't. Solace also has hardware brokers. You know, we have a purpose-built appliance. Some of our customers have hundreds of message VPNs on a single hardware device, heavily used in development. I think the most I've ever seen, actually, Tom, is the London lab environment. I think there's 400 some VPNs on that thing. So a real extreme use case around kind of multi-tenancy. So we can do it both. The cloud team just did that for simplicity and kind of ease of management and tracking and stuff. So, yep. All right, cool. Krishna, thanks, Aaron. All right, good, thanks. Aaron and Tom, what is the status of the Solace Mule connector? I don't know.
Right. So the current kind of Mule connector is all around JMS.
Is it? Okay.
There is an open source on project on GitHub using our native JSMP API. Now, last I heard, there were some discussions going on about an official Mule provided Solace connector, but unfortunately I'm not up to date with where that is at the moment, so sorry.
Me neither.
Yeah, it's something we're definitely working towards, put it that way.
Yes, so great question there, Vikas. Come over to the Solace community, post it there, and you'll get some more eyeballs on it, and you'll probably get an answer from someone at Solace that knows more than Tom and I. So yeah.
Possible? Is that actually possible?
No, between the two of us, we know everything.
We know everything.
Awesome, thanks, Vikas. That was yeah. Come ask us on the community, and we might be able to tell you. Oh, one more. Yeah, let's do one more question. I would also like to know the difference between ACL profiles and client profiles when it comes to access management. All right, so I mean, just to give everybody's on the same page. When you create a client username in Solace, you know, this is what your application will connect with, specifying the username on the broker. You associate these two different profiles with that username, right? And these profiles can be shared between different users. One is the client profile and one is the ACL profile. Your client profile defines a lot of messaging characteristics, things like TCP timeouts and buffer sizes, and I don't know, eliding, you know, if you're into that, web transport stuff, things like that. Yeah. Anything else, Tom, that I'm missing from client profile?
Yeah, things like are you allowed to do guaranteed messaging, that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
of course. Yes. What are you allowed to do? Yep.
Yep. So I would say that the client profile is kind of more resource based, what resources you're going to use on the broker. The ACO profile is about data access. What data you're allowed to send, what data you're allowed to receive. And of course, there's also some IP-based things, what IP address you're allowed to connect from, that kind of thing.
So your ACL profile has publish, subscribe, and connect. Your connect is essentially IP-based, and you can use the CIDR kind of mask form. So you can say anything from this subnet. And then publish and subscribe are topic-based. So you can specify the list of topics that you're allowed or not allowed to subscribe and to publish on. So in production, oftentimes customers will lock down quite carefully what topics users are allowed to subscribe and publish on. And these can be configured either in a deny capability or an allow capability. As in
whitelist, blacklist, basically.
Whitelist, blacklist, but I've been told that those terms aren't as PC anymore. So I'm trying to use allow and deny.
Oh, okay, right, fair enough.
Yeah, that's so ACL profile is more around topics and what you're allowed to subscribe and receive. Client profile is more around capabilities and resources in terms of how your client connection is with the broker. So in terms of access management, I don't know, like what I guess that means more around data, right? Around topics. So I think ACL profile is more kind of what you're leaning towards there in terms of access to data. Okay, so Tom, we're actually 1 or 2 minutes over here. So I think that's actually the last question. So thanks for that, Vikas. And thanks everybody that is tuned in. I don't know how many people are still listening, but I think we had a lot of good questions. And
yeah, that's great.
Thank you for joining, Tom. This is I think I should have a co-pilot every time I do this because it's a lot more interesting and stressful because you can talk while I'm searching for things online rather than me having to talk and look at the same time. So yeah, thanks for tuning in, and thanks everybody. Tom, do you have any last words before I hit the end here?
Yeah, if there's anything you still want to ask, community, ask away in community. Aaron and I monitor it. Plenty of other people from Solace are on community, so it's a great resource. Yep,
excellent. Thanks again, Tom. Thank you everybody for joining. This will be available on YouTube if you want to watch it again. And yeah, we'll see you next time. I have an APAC office hours next Wednesday. It'll be noon in Singapore time. So if you want to wake up really early, you can listen to that. So thanks again.
Thanks, everyone.
And thank you. We'll talk to you later. Okay, bye-bye.